to Be Elite Pod. I'm Shawn Michael.
And I'm Party Johnnetty. And together, we are the PodRockers.
The PodRockers are recording BEP live from our home elite studios to bring you, the PodRocker Nation, the very best in AEW wrestling commentary. And this week we are bringing you a BEP House Show Wrestler Spotlight. And this house show we are featuring the one and the only Britt Baker.
That's Dr. Britt Baker, DMD.
Yeah,
don't you forget
Dr.
it, guys.
Britt. Yeah, you go through school for 4 years, you got to get that doctor in front of it.
That's exactly right. You spend all that time, all that money. I don't care if you throw the hangover jokes out about, yeah, you're just a dentist. It's still a lot of time, a lot of patience, a lot of studying, a lot of headaches, a lot of heartache, and everything in between. And she does it while she goes to wrestling school too. Absolutely insane.
Oh, that's insane. Yeah. What I love too, like the most feared profession in the world is the dentist, right? And you've got the Dr. Britt Baker here to bring the fear into the women's wrestling here in AEW. So Party Johnnetty, let's jump right into it. So I want to know, Dr. Britt Baker, what did she do before she broke into the wrestling scene?
All right, so I have to say there's not too terribly much out there right now about her life kind of previously to that. I had to do some digging to try to find some of this stuff. She's from Pennsylvania, the Pittsburgh area, as we all know that. She started training in June 2014 at International Wrestling Cartel. But at that same time, like I mentioned earlier, she was enrolled in dental school in 2014 at the University of Pittsburgh Dental School of Medicine, which she currently resides now in Florida and has her own private practice down there as well. Before that, she went to Pennsylvania State University for undergrad for behavioral medicine. She also was apparently a fitness instructor during that time. And the one thing that I debated about talking about, but I think we mentioned it obviously with Cody Rhodes, was that Brandy is also his significant other. In this situation, the only reason why I mention it is because of their relationship, and her boyfriend was in the news recently with her concussion, and also with NXT going up against AEW coming up in the fall. Her boyfriend is that wrestler, Adam Cole, baby.
Oh, may he rest in peace.
Exactly. I'm surprised they're still talking about him. Yeah, he died a while ago.
Yeah.
So,
like I said, I'm getting caught up. I just got to the episode of BTE where they're basically going into All In. So I'm getting some great stuff again.
Oh, yeah,
if you guys are just getting into AEW, jump on BTE. It is, there's times I'm laughing at work, and it's kind of it's semi-embarrassing because people walk by my computer during lunch and they're like, oh, there's half-naked men on your computer. I'm like, well, I mean, it's wrestling. And then they get it.
Hey, it's safe for work, all right?
But yeah, I mean, that's insane to think. We talked about Hangman Adam Page when he was teaching and, trying to get into wrestling. But you have somebody going for their doctorate in dental medicine.
Yeah, man.
Well, I mean, that's not just teaching. I mean, teaching's a difficult job, don't get me wrong. But I remember what it was like in school when I had school, I had 3 jobs, and then trying to stay in shape all in one. I couldn't imagine doing all those things and then add wrestling on top of it.
Yeah, right. I tell you, Shawn, going into school, also going into a post-grad school, I think I've mentioned on here before that I used to train in Muay Thai. I actually stopped training in MMA and whatnot before I went to law school. And I don't know how she could have done this. Absolutely. If your focus wasn't 100% on school, it was a nightmare for you. So I pretty much put all hobbies, passions, and whatnot aside. I gained a couple LBs. And I spent 3 years studying my butt off. And for her, that's just amazing to me to be able to train in wrestling and also go to a school of dentistry as well. On top of that, probably spending her weekends wrestling as well. So you're studying during the day, you're wrestling at night. Absolutely insane, man.
Yeah, and I know, like, I'm guessing she probably stayed kind of in the area that she was wrestling. Like, I don't know if she expanded out too far, but yeah, that's just crazy all the work you have to put in for that. And like you said, yeah, you try to do school, you try to do all this stuff. Like, how? Like, that's just so much stuff going on at once.
Yeah,
I know there's a lot of people that talk about, like, this saying is if you shift your focus to too many things, you're not really, you're what is it? It's good at it's like a master of
a jack
none.
of all trades, a master of none. But
yeah,
there's a part there, though, too, I just recently read that I think it's along the lines, and I'm paraphrasing this, but it's better to be a master at all or a jack at all than a master of none or something along those lines. But
oh, yeah, I get that.
To totally burn out, though, like, I get what you're saying. Like, I can't believe... like I said, it was no easy feat. Law school was no easy feat by any means. And I gave up everything besides law school. So, like, she really was passionate about this. She really wanted to do this. I thought for sure, like, after my first year, I said, okay, my first year, when things, I'll get readjusted and whatnot. No, that's not how it went. I got readjusted for school, but it was like, okay, now you got to do all this other law stuff with it. So, yeah. Hats off to her, man, because that's just insane to me.
Well, I think when you hear people like Britt Baker, when they go through this type of personality, she was going to be successful at whatever she wanted to do. Like, she's like, I'm going to be a dentist, excels in that. I'm going to be a wrestler too, excels in that. She could have done anything, I imagine. It's just, she just got one of those great personalities, one of those go-getter kind of things. And, my first exposure to her was in that Battle Royale, or not the Battle Royale, sorry, the very first pay-per-view. And it was just great to see her. I thought she did a great job. And that's why I kind of want to have her be our first one. She's one of my favorite female wrestlers here in AEW.
Yeah.
So and you always want to know more about where these guys come from? How'd they get here? What kind of led them to this? And then when you hear she's coming down the aisle, it's like, yeah, she's Dr. Britt Baker. She's a dentist. You're like, wait, is this a gimmick? Like, is it? No. She's a legit dentist. She has her own practice and everything. And that's just blows my mind.
Yeah, man. It's stuff like that makes me excited and happy whenever I hear any, get involved with any type of wrestling fan that has some sort of higher educational degree, not basing that on anything, but obviously stereotypes with wrestling fans and the wrestlers themselves. People automatically think that you just have a low IQ and, they're always, it's fake, right? It's cool to see stuff like that. It's cool to see someone with a doctorate does this. I know Chris Nowinski, I believe. He was also a wrestler in WWE, went to Harvard. Now he's doing all the CTI studies and whatnot. And because of all that, he's made a huge name for himself and just bringing awareness. It's pretty awesome to see stuff like that. I always love seeing when you don't have to fall into the stereotype of the low IQ fan. And I mean, I've mentioned this before, whether it was on this show or just talking with people. Wrestling is such a great form of entertainment, and it's a cheap form of entertainment. It breaks the boundaries on all social classes. So rich, poor, or median income wage, middle income, it doesn't matter. There's seats for everyone and everyone can enjoy it. And it's just cheap, fun entertainment. So I really love seeing when people make something out of themselves and they still admit that they love pro wrestling.
Well, I think too, you think about, I feel like there's been a real big rejuvenation in wrestling. It's brought me back in. AEW's kind of big on that, but you imagine being in college and, you're in this dentistry school. I'm sure there's a lot of people that are a little too snobby, kind of looking down their noses. Mm-hmm. And it's like, hey, Britt Baker, what are you doing after class today? You want to go hang out with us? And she says, oh, sorry, I'm going to go to wrestling training. I would imagine that a lot of people would be like, what? Are you doing gladiator wrestling? What are you doing? And
yeah, right.
To still have the confidence to be like, no, that's what I'm doing. I'm going to be a wrestler and a dentist. That's my dream goals in life. Yeah. And that's always, we talked about the very first episode, when I was in grade school and realized that I was the only wrestling fan, it kind of I was like, oh, I guess this isn't cool. But to be able just to be like, well, fuck you guys, I don't care. Like, this is what I want. And I'm totally like, I don't know if this ever happened to her, but just kind of the gist I get of like that higher education, like you were saying, like sometimes people get a little snobby about it.
Yeah, right.
And,
yeah.
To be able to still follow both those passions is just, it's awesome.
Yeah. Oh yeah, man. Yeah. I definitely agree. And that's the stuff that I love seeing showcased, to show that it's there's no such thing as normal, and people shouldn't have to feel bad for what they like. I know a lot of times we always hear like the jokes and whatnot, even nowadays, which is really weird to say something along the lines. If you hear someone say, "You don't like Star Wars?" Oh, what's wrong with
good
you?
Point.
I mean, back in the day, it would be like you got beat up for liking Star Wars, but nowadays you don't like Star Wars, you get ostracized. And so like, I mean, let people like what they like, man. And so, this to me, like I said, seeing this is just positive overall, and it breaks those stereotypes, and it lets people know that you can go off into higher education, even you don't have to be ashamed for liking wrestling, even though it's fake, right? So, yeah, really awesome, really cool to see. And I think, if anything, Britt Baker is definitely also a great role model for kids as well.
Oh, agreed. Yeah. So we see Britt Baker, we get a little bit of her backstory. So what's her indie wrestling history? So what has Dr. Britt Baker kind of done on the indie scene pre-AEW days?
Well, she's done a lot with IWC, the company that also trained her. She debuted in August 2015, and actually in 2016, about a year or so later, she appeared actually on WWE as a jobber. Nice. She was enhancement talent, and she got crushed by Nia Jax. So, I mean, that's still pretty big to even get pulled into that. I mean, just recently in my own neck of the woods, a wrestler by the name of Alex Sky appeared on WWE as enhancement talent for Lacey Evans. And so that's a big deal to even get the enhancement talent spot. So that's really cool for her. She became the IWC's women's champion in December 2016, which she'd end up losing it in the summer of 2017. And then later on in that year as well, she'd win and lose it again. Then she's a part of All In. She competes in that four-corner Survivor match, which you can listen to our review not too long ago. Just go to the rest of our series on Apple or Google Play or Podbean, whatever you Spotify. Sorry, what you like to listen to, and you'll listen to our great review of All In. She was a part of that, obviously, and she wins. She was also in Ring of Honor and Impact as well. She did some short stints there on the smaller circuit. She was in Wrestle Circus, Remix Pro Wrestling, and Monster Factory Pro Wrestling. She was also a part of Rise from 2016 to 2018 as well.
Yeah, so you think about it, that's only 3 years ago when she was really breaking in, and here she is on the main stage of AEW. I'd probably say one of the top 3 to 5. I would probably say the top in AEW right now. And like you talked about that All In match, like Tessa Blanchard, seeing the rivalry that they kind of have going was really intense, really exciting. We saw that in the Battle Royale that was just, recently at, All Out. But you think, so do you know how she kind of got discovered for AEW? Was it mostly the Ring of Honor stuff you think that kind of got her on their map, or what really brought her to AEW?
That I'm not even sure, to be completely honest with you. I don't know what it was. If it was just maybe her, hey, you guys got to see this woman. She's not only a wrestler, but she's a dentist, and she's a pretty darn good wrestler at that. It's not just like one of those situations where, oh, hey, this is a wrestler who's a professional in another career, but is really not that good of a wrestler. So I can guarantee that they wouldn't have hired her even if she was just a dentist / wrestler. The fact that she's talented as a wrestler as well has something obviously to do about it. Now, I'm sure her run-ins probably with the Brandy, especially ROH and Impact, that probably had something to do with it. I don't want to misquote or say something that I don't that I don't know to be apparently true, but I'm can assume. I assume that that's how that went. I know at that time, Cody and Brandy were on the independent circuit, so there might have been some bumping into each other there and introducing each other and whatnot. So I can't give you a straight answer on that, but I can talk around it.
And did you watch much of her Ring of Honor stuff? I know you were kind of big into Ring of Honor early on.
Yeah, no, honestly, I can't say that I was. A lot of the Women of Honor stuff, I never really got to see. I was always wondering about it. All the Ring of Honor shows that I went to, I never got to see a women's match that I recall.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I want to say Women of Honor really didn't recently popped up, maybe 2010s. It might have been earlier than that. And if someone's listening and you do know, please let me know. As you know, if you listen to this, I do correct myself if I find something out after, just because I don't want to give false information out here. It was a while ago. And I remember seeing actually some of the women at the ROH shows, but never seeing them wrestle. So I really didn't. And oh man, so ROH hit this time, not to go off on a tangent here, but like it was really hard to find where you could watch ROH besides watching it online. And so sometimes you had to wait a couple weeks in order to see something that was going on. And then life just got ahead of you. And next thing you know, you basically only watch matches that you wanted to watch. No, I really didn't see anything with her. She was a part of Impact when I stopped, when I cut the cord on my cable. So I didn't get to see her on one of the crazy channels that Impact bounced around to. The last time I was watching was when both Impact, TNA, and ROH were on Destination America. And that was it. So that's been quite some time now.
Nice. So, like you said, not a whole lot kind of in her back catalog yet, but she's got a lot of potential, I think. But as we're going through it, what's the bio for Dr. Britt Baker? Her signature moves, her chants. What's some of the things she's known for?
Some of her moves are the Rain Baker. That's the ripcord rolling elbow. Her Baker Buster, Angel Wings, Rocker Dropper, double arm crossface, the last shot. She does a super kick. She does a Shining Wizard, which is kind of like a Shining Wizard, I believe, was invented by Great Muta. Created by him anyway, and a lot of wrestlers use that, and a lot of female wrestlers use that move as well. So it's up there along the lines of I think like AJ Lee used the Shining Wizard a lot too, and I'm trying to think some of the other female wrestlers have used it. Swinging side slam, fisherman's neck breaker, and obviously because she's from Pittsburgh, her nickname is Britsburg.
Oh, that's badass. I like that.
Yeah, right. And also, I believe one of the fun things that came from a chant anyway with her is she's a DMD. She's not a DDS. The DDS is Doctor of Dental Surgery. The DMD is Doctor of Medicine in Dentistry, or Doctor of Dental Medicine. And the fans chanted DMD, DMD. So, like, that's pretty awesome, man. I couldn't imagine, like, fans, chanting something like that. So, I know Dr. Britt Baker's her gimmick now, but, like, it's still kind of cool that that's how that came about.
Yeah, I feel like, we talked about the librarian gimmick a little bit. I feel, with the doctor, the dentist gimmick, you could definitely go way overboard with like, oh, and there goes another teeth. Oh, there's another client.
Yep, exactly, right? I'm going to break your teeth and then I'm going to make you pay me to fix them.
Which would be good, like dropping those here and there, but like the announcers seem to like let it go just at the right time. I think during All In, when she super kicked one of the other competitors, they kind of mentioned that like, oh, did we mention she's a dentist? Because and it seems like her finisher move has always been the super kick that I've seen. That's kind of been what's kind of lined up for the end of the match for her, but that's definitely a gimmick that, if you could way overuse it, but if it's used just right, would be so good.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Well, I know there's not a lot I know, but I can read Wikipedia. So I'm going to go through the list of championships and accomplishments for one Dr. Britt Baker. So, like you mentioned, in the IWC, she was the IWC Women's Champion 2 times. Like you said, she held it from December to the summertime. So that's like 6 or 7 months she was their champion.
Yeah.
She was in the Monster Factory, the MFPW Girls Championship 1 time, and she's actually listed here as the current champion. The Pro Wrestling Illustrated had her as the number 71 out of the top 100 female wrestlers in 2018. Remix Pro Wrestling had her as the Remix Pro Fury Championship 1 time. Wrestling Circus had the WC Big Top Tag Team Champion once with Adam Cole. Zelo Pro Wrestling, she was the Zelo Pro Wrestling Champion 1 time and is currently the Zelo Pro Wrestling Champion. So not a lot, early on in her career, but she is currently holding 2 titles, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And I think another great thing about AEW too is that a lot of these wrestlers can still go wrestle on the independents and whatnot, unless their contracts specifically mention something, but they do have that option to make appearances and whatnot outside of AEW. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I wonder if you'll start seeing that kind of slowly start going away once the TV show goes more full time. They start doing the house shows. But yeah, letting them kind of just keep fresh and keep competing is pretty sweet. I think somebody just sent me some videos from I think it was a Ring of Honor show where it was a MLW show, and MJF was there. I think he's like the tag team champion there right now.
Yeah.
So getting to see them do that stuff is pretty cool. Like you see them in this like 10,000 seat arena, and then they're here in this like 300 seat arena. It's just really cool to see the contradiction, or not the contradiction, but just the difference in scale that these guys are doing, and they still put on the exact same amazing show.
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. And I mean, that's one of the great things about indie wrestling, especially nowadays. A lot of these men and women just give it their all, whether it's 10 fans or 10,000.
I'm trying to think, was it Cody, or I thought I heard somebody say it's like if you could sell to like a 10-person show, you can sell to a 10,000 seat show.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. I would agree with that 100%. I mean, not saying that I've wrestled or anything like that, but I've been at shows where there's been only 10 people there watching. And let me tell you, it gets very intimate when that happens. And you have to try to convince 10 people. Try to convince 10 people that what you're doing actually hurts, is actually real. Like, I mean, obviously it hurts, but you're selling it. You're trying to create that story. And you have less noise around you. It's almost it's silence. And so when only one person's like, come on, go, let's go, it kind of gets awkward. So really the only noise that happens is in between the matches. It's kind of crazy, man. So yeah. If you can convince 10 people, oh man, I think it'd be easy. Stepping out and seeing, 10,000 people is one thing, but to try to convince just 10 people, that's something totally different, man. And let me tell you, it's not easy seeing it.
Well, why don't we jump into some of the historical matches from Dr. Britt Baker? Again, she hasn't had a ton that we've seen so far, but what's some of the top ones that you've seen?
Yeah, right. And so that's the thing, like on the rating scale when it comes to melts, and I mean, obviously we're going to use melts as one of the standards because that's what everyone does in the wrestling world. There's not too many rated. Like her highest rated match is her all-in match. I got a 3.25 from melts on that. But that was a good match. I definitely suggest going to see that. She has some great matches with Tessa Blanchard as well, whether it was for Wrestle Circus or Remix Pro. She's got some against, I believe, Rachel Ellering as well. There's that cool little Britt Baker and Riho versus Nakajima and B. Priestley that Fight for the Fallen. Match. I really liked that match, even though she got her concussion there. Gosh, man, she has she's also done some intergender matches as well. So it's not like she's only wrestled just women. She did her first ever match was like a tag match, and it was with Ray Lynn, and I might be saying that wrong. I'm really sorry. Dylan Bostic and Andrew Palace with Britt Baker, and so they wrestled them and intergender tag match. So yeah, Kylie Ray, Britt Baker as well, Zelo Pro, There's a few out there to check. I mean, you have YouTube, you can find it. She did a match with Katie Arquette, which I don't know how true it is, but apparently Katie Arquette is David Arquette's like niece or something. Like she's related to the Arquettes. So I thought that was
wrestling
interesting.
Royalty right there.
Yeah, I know, right? Exactly. She's done some stuff with Shayna Baszler as well. And Britt was also she was in a dark match for the Mae Young Classic. So,
oh, nice.
Yeah, you can definitely see her with that. There's also her match with Nia Jax making her Raw debut as well. That's up on YouTube. You can see that. So she actually hurt her shoulder with Shayna Baszler in an NXT match as well, like the Mae Young Classic dark match. So yeah, not a ton, but I mean, what do you expect? Like in the world of wrestling, when you have only 4 years under your belt, but you're also making some big time moves and whatnot. So definitely one of those where it's nice that people now get to see kind of the start of her career even. And so you get to live what she's living currently.
Yeah, I'm excited to see. Like, I mean, the sky's the limit. I feel like for her. I mean, if she stays healthy and stays, going strong, she's like, this is going to be the face of the women's division here in AEW. So I'm excited, very excited here. So,
oh yeah.
But I mean, so I guess to tidy up on Dr. Britt Baker, I mean, again, I think she's probably my favorite female wrestler in AEW. How does she rank in your kind of current roster of AEW?
Oh yeah, she's up there definitely. I can't wait to see what she and B Priestley can do, and yeah. I'm really excited about what's going to happen with that. I was really wanting to see more on her and Kylie Ray, and unfortunately, we'll see what happens there. But yeah, Britt Baker, I definitely like what she's doing, and I can't wait to see more of her.
Well, why don't we jump into a little bit of under the ring news? So we got some matches already announced for Full Gear, the next pay-per-view from AEW. The big one, which is subject to change, is Cody versus Jericho for the AEW title. Now, I know this has kind of been stated as if Cody still wins out and still going strong, he will get this title shot. And if Jericho's still the champion, he'll be the man he fights. How do you feel about this match? Do you think it's too soon for Cody to be there? Do you think it's just the right time? Do you think it's a little bit too early to announce this, considering there's another title shot that's supposed to happen, I think, in the second week of AEW on TNT?
I mean, I know that they've also already been talking about this too, like going back on announcing this and saying, no, we're not going to do this. But it is what it is. I mean, look at the fight card, or the wins losses, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I'm stroking out here. I'm really sorry. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. It's bound to happen anyway, so let it happen.
Yeah, I think my only complaint is that they announced it before the first title match that's supposed to happen on AEW on TNT. I think they probably should have waited after that point, but I know after that point, it's literally like 2 weeks until the pay-per-view starts. So trying to get things lined up. They're trying to get people excited. I mean, again, if you do look at the win-losses, Cody is essentially undefeated except with that tag match. So in singles, he's 2-0-1. He's had probably some of the best matches at AEW so far. The Dustin match was amazing. This past match with Shawn Spears was amazing. So why shouldn't he get that title shot? And it's the question of, if he gets the title, is it too soon? Is it not? I'd be curious how the match goes.
Yeah, I guess. Right. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think people, of course, they're going to find whatever that they can to try to talk negative about AEW. The moment that AEW doesn't sell out or anything like that is the moment that people go, see, they're already losing. Vince McMahon's going to buy them out. I mean, the whole idea of it and whatnot is just to have an alternative for wrestling. And they're not going to hit home runs every single time. And I think we've said that before, but it's going to be a good match regardless. It should be fun. Don't worry about it. His record's good. He deserves the shot.
Yeah. Well, the story to this too, I mean, especially with the, you kind of mix the real and the fake here with the title getting lost.
Yeah.
Jericho's got this whole, like, this place wouldn't be here without me. But it's like, Cody's got that same stake to put in the ground, right? Like, if it wasn't for All In, if it wasn't for him putting all these things on the line, if it wasn't for him giving up on all the money in WWE, AEW may not be around. And I could see him getting pissed off and that being the storyline. Like, listen, Jericho, like, I've put so much on the line for this, and you just, get to take a break from your band. You don't respect the title. You're just here to, stroke your own ego. It's time for you to pay the piper, and I'm Cody Rhodes, not Cody Piper, but you're going to pay the Rhodes.
Yeah, man, it writes itself, basically. It totally does. So, I mean, what else can you do than when something like that happens? It just makes sense. Like, it wouldn't make sense not to have it. So, just let it be.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. Again, you start getting some of those stuff happening week to week. So, and you start getting those road twos to full gear will be great. They did just announce another match as well, and it's going to be the match we're supposed to see it All Out: Moxley versus Omega. Moxley's kind of been quiet since his injury. We haven't really heard a ton from him, but Omega looks to be kind of going off of the edge, I guess. He's fallen off the non-alcoholic beer wagon, if you've watched the recent BTE. I don't know if he was at a prom or if he was at a wedding or where he was at, but, they definitely played up that he was struggling here with his, current losing streak he's on. So this is a match we talked about, for All Out, but sounds like as long as everybody's healthy, we're getting it for Full Gear.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. You got to see that BTE episode. That was pretty funny. I like how you mentioned it, prom. Like, Kenny Omega just goes to prom.
Just randomly goes to him. It's like, hey, do you guys know who I am?
Yeah, he's totally just so upset that he's got to go to prom.
And then the other big announcement from today, we've got another event, another location for AEW on TNT. So on Wednesday, November 13th, AEW on TNT will be taking place at the Nashville Municipal Auditorium in Nashville, Tennessee.
Yeah, JR got to announce that one.
He did, yeah. And it was pretty exciting. There's a lot of his story there. Pumped for that. Again, it's not very close to us, but they're really kind of bringing back that Southern wrestling, which is, when I was younger, I really, really enjoyed, and kind of like paying homage to that area that's kind of been looked over for a while. So it's really cool to kind of get that back, kind of that grassroots movement almost.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I was really excited to see that. Also, it means like I'm crossing my fingers, trying not to hold my breath here, but that we're getting a show maybe possibly in Detroit. So come on, keep bringing them up. Keep going north. Keep going north for me.
I feel like you're going to hear that Ohio, Indiana, then maybe they'll swing back up through St. Louis, Chicago, Detroit.
Yeah, right.
We'll see. I mean, it's like, I know they were talking about it on a show where it's like, whenever we announce a show, we always get like, you're never coming here. It's like, we've got 52 shows a year. Like, odds are we're going to be somewhere close to you. Just, give it some time.
Yeah, exactly. Just give it some time.
All right, well, let's break a little kayfabe here as we break into some of the it's still wrestling news, but not in the AEW world of wrestling, I guess. But I love the fact that we've got the meme of the century from Chris Jericho's winning the title.
Oh, I know.
We talked about it last week. It was a little bit of the bubbly. I don't know if you've seen some of these, but somebody intercut that with Nookie.
Yes.
So I was like, I did it off with a bubbly. The bubbly.
Yes. Yep. Oh, that was so funny, man. Gosh, all the memes that come from this has just been amazing. Someone took Brock Lesnar's theme song.
Yeah, I saw that.
Oh, I was dying on that one. Bubbly. Oh, man. I did not expect that to blow up as a meme. Like, it's outside of my my wrestling friend circle. Like, that's hit mainstream.
Oh, nice.
The bubbly. And the funny thing was too, like he was talking about that on his latest podcast where he basically, and it just goes to show just with anything, not just wrestling even, but like art mimics art. And he took the Olives line from Spinal Tap.
Oh, nice.
And he took the little bit of Bubbly from Dumb and Dumber. And so it really, he made it his own, and you know, it blew up. And so that's absolutely hilarious. They actually made a shirt out of it now.
Yeah. It was the top seller of the month in like 10 hours.
Yeah. And then I saw like a Bubbly Club shirt too.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. Somebody made that drawing up, which was awesome.
Yeah, dude.
Did you see the intercut from the Cody Dustin promo?
Yes.
It's like, I don't need a friend. I don't need a partner. I need a little bit of the bubbly.
Oh man, it's just been gold, man. Absolutely.
It's one of those I've been sitting there. I'm like, man, I got to come up with something. The other big news, we found out that the AEW title has been found. So Party Johnnetty, I know you were on the hunt to figure out what happened to it. I don't know what you did with it. I don't know. I'm not saying you threw it out of a car window. I'm not saying you forgot it on top of a limo when we're getting ready to party at Longhorn Steakhouse. But somebody found it, and it is now back in possession of AEW.
Wait a minute. Me?
Listen, I handed that to you. I said, hey, that blonde over there said she wants a picture, so I'm going to go back in there and grab her, and we'll come back out and take a picture. You watch the title. And when I came back out, you were doing shots with some dude. I don't even remember what his name was. Greg, Brian, Steve. I don't know. I think it was the limo driver. Limo driver was drunk. That's what I'm getting at. I don't want to get him in trouble because, you know, he was a good guy. He was covering for us when he said that, you know, he lost the title or he didn't see the title. Somebody stole it. I don't know. But the title is found, and you know what? It's okay. You don't have to apologize now, Party Johnnetty. You can do it off air. That's perfectly fine.
Oh, goodness gracious.
But I don't know how much of the story you've heard, but apparently some dude saw this velvet bag on the side of the road in Florida. They stop, they pick it up, and he's like, man, this is heavy. And first off, if you're in Florida and you pick up a velvet bag and it's heavy, my first thought is like, I'm going to look inside because either A, it's a snake or it's a pound of cocaine.
Yeah, right. Oh, definitely, man. I see a velvet bag and I'm thinking, oh man, my mind goes, it's Florida. So it's drugs or it's sex paraphernalia.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. You open it up. You're like, whoa, this is going to be a sex belt. That's what it is, right? It's a sex swing.
Yep, a sex belt.
But he opened it up and he's like, oh, well, this looks like a wrestling belt. He didn't even know anything about AEW. And apparently he's like, oh, well, this must be some kind of replica or something. So he puts it up on, what the hell's the name of the...
Craigslist.
Craigslist, yes. Yeah. He puts it up on Craigslist like, hey, I found this belt. If it's yours, give me the details and, we'll get it back to you. And then he heard the news and returned it. I guess he's kind of... I mean, like, to me, I would have, like, the fear, too, that, you turn the belt in. It's like, hey, I found this. Like, yeah, sure you did, dude. Sure you did.
Yeah, right.
Why don't you come have this Hell in a Cell match with these three drunk guys right now? Like, oh, damn it.
Yeah.
Hey, are you guys going to sell for me? No, but you're going to sell for us. Party Johnnetty.
Super kick.
Did he say super lick party? No, super kick. No. Kick.
I know this is Florida, but that was a different time. I don't like to talk about it.
But it's good to see that it's back. It sounds like there's not any charges that have been filed yet. But again, that's kind of where you talk about like the, taking a bad and making it good. Like everything they did with that was like, I still think probably people today is like, I bet it was a work. Like I'm sure it was a work, right? Like somebody planted this belt, this whole story's fake. And it was just a way to sell this whole story. Like, 'cause this was number one on Twitter when this belt went missing.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it went everywhere. And then a lot of people thought too, well, if anything, everyone did think it was, it was a work. And, I mean, now it just feels like it has to be, or at least they got to make a joke about it anyway. I was expecting something on Being the Elite to talk about it this week, but they didn't. At least I don't recall that they did. It just, Yeah, it was so weird. It came out of nowhere, and it just sounds like it was a huge mishap. And the whole story is just weird. Like, truth is stranger than fiction type of moment.
Oh yeah, for sure. And then kind of what I guess we might start calling this our Wednesday Night War segment, or we got to give it a cool name. But on the Pat McAfee show, Triple H was discussing the Wednesday Night Wars. And it was interesting because the quote he has here, I'll be curious what you think of it. He was talking about NXT and AEW's Wednesday Night War. And he says, they will choose what they want to watch, talking about the audience. I'm confident in NXT. I'm confident in the talent. There's not one person I would trade anybody for. I can look at that show and say, bring your best. We will, and good luck. When I listened to it, it sounded very, like, it definitely didn't sound like a you guys suck kind of thing. It was more of like, hey, let's, not necessarily the best show will win, but competition brings out the best, which we've kind of heard. It's an alternative kind of thing. But how do you feel about that quote from Triple H?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. He has nothing to not be confident about. NXT is a great brand. The only thing I know we've talked about it too is that they need to do what they said that they were going to do, and that was go live against it. I mean, the only people that get hurt from this are the wrestling fans, and I don't know. It's not to me. It's not good. It's not fun. Like, WWE dominates all week, and there's so much wrestling from them that it's like you took the only thing that people enjoy. And I'm not knocking anything right now, and people enjoy the product. I'm not just saying people don't, but a lot of fans got tired of 3-hour Raws and they don't watch SmackDown. And now what you're going to do is you're going to take the one good thing, the one thing that the crossover fans enjoy, and you're going to pit them up against each other. Yeah, that's great. That's awesome. So if anything, it's going to do fine. It's going to introduce younger audiences to NXT, which is cool. That's great too. But like, I mean, they're calling it everything except petty. Like, obviously it's competition, right? Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts around it. And that's what you do with competition. McDonald's, Disney, the American motor companies, car companies here. That's what you want to do. You always want to compete, but like, instead it's on the one hand, it's not so much competition as like, you're just like, yeah, we're going to crush you. We're going to actually hurt the wrestling industry by giving you too much wrestling, even more now. So it's not really like, oh, hey, WWE, you win. It gets to the point where you're actually just going to shutter fans out because there's too much of it. That they're going to go, okay, well, you know what? If anything, this might backfire on them, and no one watches Raw. They might be watching SmackDown now that it's on Fox. They might be watching NXT now, and then they just hurt themselves.
Yeah,
and
watch NXT on like tape delay, then watch AEW, then watch SmackDown. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, man. And I mean, that's it too. It's just like, it hurts them in the way though too, that they've already said you'll be able to see those NXTs on the network, I think like 2 weeks later or something like that. So, I mean, if you're just watching, I don't know, Sling TV, or if you're watching cable, and you do the old, like, hey, I'm going to record one and watch the other live. That's going to happen, definitely. And if AEW doesn't give you any of that other, like, hey, you can only watch TNT live, it benefits and hurts them in a way. Because, like, if AEW isn't putting out good weekly programming, they're going to fall off fast. But I mean, if they put out stuff that people want to see, then yeah, it's gonna be good. And I mean, they're gonna have to try to figure out themselves what they need to do to keep up with the fight on this. I'll tell you one thing, to be completely open about this is, I mean, my poker chips are all on AEW, and it isn't because I'm trying to be some anti-WWE guy. That's not it. It's just WWE has done such a terrific job of insulting my intelligence, getting back at it, a higher level of education on fans and whatnot. But I don't mean it like that. I mean, just as a regular fan, I feel that they've insulted my intelligence way too much, that it's gotten to the point where I don't even feel that the network is worth it anymore. I know that they've recently announced that they're going to be doing the tiered system for the WWE network, and I just don't feel like giving them any money, any sort of amount of money anymore. And I hate to say it like that, and I hate to be bitter, but it's like, you did what they did originally when they bought WCW, and you've pretty much just made it so that wrestling's not fun anymore. And that's why I originally got out of it to begin with. And now I come back after wrestling starts to get fun again, and now they're doing the same stuff. And so I'm going, okay, well, now I'm getting out of it again. I'm just getting bored with WWE. Thanks to the internet and thanks to basically just people actually starting to put stuff up on YouTube and whatnot, getting to see MLW and whatnot because of YouTube, or getting to see stuff on Twitch like Impact. That's awesome. And to me, there's a lot more better wrestling and storylines out there. So I'm going to go to that. And, the only ones that are to blame are themselves. It's going to reach that point like the same way with McDonald's. McDonald's still makes a ton of money. WWE's still going to make a ton of money, but not everyone goes to McDonald's every single day. Not everyone's going to be watching WWE all the time. So, I mean, they're going to get a little bit too big for their britches, and, they'll be fine. They'll be okay. They're not going to go bankrupt anytime soon. The only thing that can really happen with the WWE, because they're too big to die out now, is that someone else buys them, that Fox makes a deal or something. Yeah. So that's the next step. And then who knows where wrestling goes after that. I mean, look what happened with UFC. UFC gets bought out, and I mean, people are still fans of it. I can't tell you I can't tell you any of the champions or whatnot right now with it, but to me, it's just, that's how it gets, man. It just, you sour some of your fans, your diehards, and I think a lot of people are reaching that point now. I know the joke's always, millennials kill this, millennials kill that. But it's just like, if you're not showing any sort of loyalty or whatnot, or appreciation to your fans nowadays, your fans don't have to take that. There's other options out there. And sorry to go on a long-winded talk about that, just because off of a 3-sentence quote from Triple H. But I don't know. Like, it bugs me when people act like this is gonna hurt them when they're just faking it almost. It's like, that you are confident in NXT and whatnot, and you guys act like you didn't have any choice but to go on Wednesday.
Oh yeah.
So get out of here with all that bullshit.
And he did make the comment in there too that it's kind of like, he almost put it on AEW. He's like, well, they decided to take our night.
Yeah,
I guess
okay.
NXT was on Wednesday nights. Which was like, well, it was on the network. It wasn't on like anything really accessible. So it really wasn't your night. They definitely chose like, okay, you got Friday, Monday. We're picking a specific day, which I know when Tony Khan was talking about too. He's like, well, we didn't want Sunday or Mondays because that's, NFL. We didn't want Thursdays because it's NFL. Saturdays is when we're doing our pay-per-views. Fridays, obviously WWE. So it logically made sense to do Wednesday nights.
Yeah, right.
And it's and that's the thing too, is like, what happens, let's say they do this, so let's say NXT does not do well compared to AEW. Well, they can either keep it going, because I'm sure USA will still like it, or they drop it and they haven't lost anything. They're still the biggest wrestling company money-wise out there.
Yeah.
It's I like your analogy about like McDonald's and like something else. It's like McDonald's is, probably one of the most profitable restaurants, in the world, right? But there are a ton of great, vegan style restaurants, or, this, kind of specialty type fast food restaurant. They're not doing the billions of dollars a year, but they're still doing really well, and people still love to go to those. It's just a different type of food you can go and get. And that's kind of what you're getting here. If you love WWE, stay with WWE. If you want, something different, like that's, you talked about all your eggs being in AEW. Well, that's kind of where I'm at. Not because like I hate WWE or anything like that. It's just I tried to get back into it and I didn't enjoy it. But AEW is just kind of talk to me a little bit more. It's more of what I'm used to, or more of kind of what I want to see. And so that's why I'm kind of, hitching my ride to this, because I want to see this product. If AEW goes under because of WWE, it's not going to bring me back to WWE. I'll just stop watching wrestling again for another 20 years.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But yeah, it's long kind of rant on that, but it's again, I'm excited for October to get here. We're about a month away. Get the actual TV, get to really see kind of the product hit its stride, and go from there.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
But as we're tidying up, as always, we like to share with you fans that you guys can send us your letters and feedback in our From the Stand section. And also, we want to make sure that you send us your gimmicks. Cut a promo, send it to us at PodRockers@BeElitePod.com. All right, Party Johnnetty. So what do we have coming up next?
So our next episode, we will be bringing you an AEW Wrestler Spotlight featuring Nyla Rose.
Ah, yes, she'll be competing for the very first ever AEW women's title at the very first AEW on TNT. So we're going to get to hear about her backstory, get to hear about her, career coming up to AEW, and I'm super, super pumped for that. But until then, PodRocker Nation, reach out to BEP by following us on Twitter at BElitePod and Instagram at BElitePodcast. You can email questions, comments, or send us those promos to PodRockers@BeElitePod.com. You can like us on Facebook by searching for BeElitePod.
Well, we are desperately out of time for this week's Be Elite Pod, but until next week, I'm Party Johnnetty.
And I'm Shawn Michael saying so long from our BEP Home Elite Studios.
Remember, get off the street and be elites. Now, how about a little bit of that bubbly?